record this, right? So we're down here to step 5. So after we've done steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, then we know the industry quantity is just going to be given by taking the quantity that the leader is producing plus the quantity that the follower is producing. And I'll see here. What about P star? What do we do for that one? Do you have an idea, Devara? Are you there?
I'm not sure.
Well, okay. What have we always done to find P star in the past?
Substitute
Substitute what?
the Q.
Yeah, you always put the quantity into the demand function, right? I'm no big surprise, you know. So, and then once you've done all that, then if you've done the Cornell stuff, then you know how to go ahead and find the consumer surplus and the producer surplus and the profit and all that stuff. Does anybody have any questions, general questions about finding profit or total surplus or anything like that in these types of situations? I'll just put 7 is welfare, which you all should know by now. That's consumer producer surplus, deadweight loss. Are there any questions? Okay, so let's begin. So I have Devara, Emilio. Oh, Emilio, I guess he dropped. An internet issue or something. So how about Devara, Benjamin, and let's see, and Arslan. Okay, you 3 are at the top of my list. Are you all there?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Okay, so let's go ahead and do step 1. Find the reaction function of the follower. And I mean, rather than just get to total industry output and skip all the way down to 5, we'll just take a couple of the intermediate steps and then go from there. It actually turns out that steps 2 and 3 aren't really that tricky. You can reduce steps 2 and 3 down to, marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. So I say substitute it into the profit function. But when you do the profit maximization problem, if you all remember from earlier lectures, or if you don't remember too much, you should remember every time we're setting marginal revenue equal to marginal cost, we're doing profit maximization, and that's the formula that comes out of taking the first derivative of the total revenue function to find where the slope goes to 0, you end up with marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. And the only exception to any other thing that we've done here is that there's just one special case, which is in competition, marginal revenue just happens to be the market price. So you get price equals to marginal cost as the condition for profit maximization in competition, because the marginal revenue has that really simple form. But it's the same thing over and over again. Marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So we'll get there in just a second, but let's go ahead and work on the step one, and I'll come back to you all in like 5 minutes. Okay. All right. If anybody has any questions, I'm here if you are having trouble getting started or something. Okay. Okay, so how's it going? Ben, how are you doing?
Good. I have the two reaction functions.
Oh, but remember, you only need one.
Or what? Yeah. Then I guess I have one reaction function.
You only need, you remember, this is what makes it different. The leader follower model is you construct the reaction function for just the follower. And I was going to give you all a little bit of a, uh, you know, idea of the intuition for what's happening here. This is actually, the model is a model of asymmetric information. Okay. And you can think of it as timing, if you want to, meaning a lot of times people call this like a first mover advantage model where the leader is moving first. But really, the way that that's showing up in our mathematics for solving this problem is that notice that we're taking, and I'll spotlight this. So we're taking the reaction function of the follower and we're substituting it into the profit maximization problem of the leader, right? So what's happening is the leader knows that the follower is going to follow his or her production decisions. It's gonna, so they know what the follower is going to do, and the follower doesn't know what the leader is going to do. So there's no reason for the follower. I mean, we either say that the follower literally doesn't know the leader's reaction function, or that the follower doesn't have access to that information in making their decision. So and you'll kind of see this. So I have a question, and I'll ask um, Devara. You with us, Devara?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at this demand, right? And then you look at these two marginal cost functions. So which one of these two firms, right, two businesses, would you say has like a cost advantage?
Firm 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And normally what happens in our models is that, like in the Cournot model, what we showed was if the two firms are equally matched in terms of their costs, then because the gain in Cournot is symmetric, they both have reaction functions, and we look at the intersection of their reaction function to find the Nash equilibrium, then the one with the cost advantage ends up producing more output, right? And that kind of makes sense. I mean, at least it should at this point in time start to match your intuition that you would expect that the low cost producer produces more. That happens in competition, and it happens in Cournot. In general, the firm that has the lowest costs would produce more output, right? Are you with me, Devara?
Yes.
So here, when you look at these two things, you would, this is my question, which would you expect is going to end up producing more of the output?
Firm 2.
Yeah, you would expect firm 2. But now, even though it's a higher cost firm firm one has this other little advantage, which is they have information, or they have some advantage in terms of timing, if you know. But ultimately, what we're modeling is that they have the follower's reaction function, and so we're going to see out of this model, well, what difference does that make, right? I mean, does it turn out that it wipes out the cost advantage? And I don't know. In this particular problem, here the costs, you know, I mean, it's difficult to characterize these things, but because the magnitudes of these coefficients 5 and 4 matter, and then also the slope of the demand curve affects their decisions too. So I don't know if the leader in this case is, even though they have a cost disadvantage, going to end up producing more of the output for the whole industry. But it might end up being the case, and if that's true, then we'll be able to see the power of the information advantage that the leader has. Anyway, so that's really the main point of covering Stackelberg, is so as you work through these models, you can begin to see how these different factors give certain businesses advantages that you know, under different circumstances. Okay. So let's go ahead. So you said, Ben, that you had the reaction function for firm 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me do this a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to call that Q2 with a hat, and I'll say this is the reaction function for firm 2. Okay, and what did you get?
My reaction function was Q2 equals 164 minus Q1 over 16.
Okay, I think maybe maybe there's a little calculation error in there. So what did you get, Arslan?
I think it was the same thing, 164 minus 6Q1
Right.
divided by 16.
That's what I was listening for, because what I heard Ben say was minus Q1, not 6Q1. So I don't know if I missed that, but that's what I agree with. Did you mean to say 6Q1, or did you just
Yeah,
say?
I probably slipped over the 6.
Okay, cool. So this is the reaction function. Now, so to subs that into the profit maximization problem for firm 2, what we know is we're going to end up with what I said before, which is the marginal revenue of firm 1, I should say. And actually, you know, I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to call this the follower to be consistent with my notation there. Okay, that's fine. So now we need the marginal revenue of the leader, right, is equal to the marginal cost of the leader. And this is kind of where things get just a little bit tricky, just because there's some algebra that you got to work through. And so I want to move this around to give us a little bit of space. Okay, so in this case, you know, I'll just show you all of the algebra in sort of gory detail, and then you know, obviously you all can select, you know, when to sort of simplify things, whatever's easiest for you. But what you really want to start with is this formulation for residual demand. And so I know you all have this, right? Okay, so that looks familiar, right, Arslan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we want to put the, notice I put a little caret there, so we want to put the reaction function for firm 2 in there. So I'll put PB, and just depending upon the way you want to do this, you could say this is the residual demand for the leader. That's fine. And so, but if we start and we substitute in the reaction function for the follower here, then you'll notice that right away we get to a residual demand formulation for the leader that has the residual demand of the leader as a function of only the output of the leader, right? The Q2 disappears from our analysis. And that's different. If you go back and you compare what we did in Cournot or in cartels or anything else, you won't see that at the first step with just formulating residual demand. Residual demand, normally we have Q2 and then we assume Q2 is some value, and then we take Q2 over immediately and reduce the intercept term, right, as some sort of a constant. And I'm not sure if you all understand, and this is why, you know, I like to graph things. But typically, right, when we do residual demand, we start off with some initial demand curve. So like in this case, it would be an industry level demand curve, which is, you know, here at 164. And then if we knew the value of how much output Q2 was going to produce, if it was a constant number, right, then this whole term in the residual demand formulation that I've given you, this whole bit here would just be a constant. And visually, what we would be doing is we'd be shifting the demand curve in or down, depending upon the way that you want to think about it, this way, or shifting by taking the intercept down, right? The slopes are the same. And then we would end up with this yellow demand curve, which is the demand from the perspective of, in this case, it would be from the perspective of firm 1. It's the demand that's left over for firm 1. But here we don't do that. That's just the typical residual demand situation in most cases. Here, instead, we say, oh no, we don't know what the residual demand is going to be. We don't know exactly how much it's going to be shifted in. Instead, what we know is that the follower is going to react to the output amount of firm 2. So, exactly what that's going to end up being, we don't know. Okay, so okay, so that's why we end up with this formulation that has Q1 in the place of, again, where we might otherwise expect a constant. Okay, so. Okay, so at this point, then what I would do, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do this from this point forward, because now that you have this residual demand formulation that's based on the reaction function of firm 2, it's just algebra and whatever you want to do. So what I would do at this point is simplify it. So I'll ask, so what I mean by simplifying the expression is put it in a form that we're used to, where we have some constant minus some coefficient times the variable Q1, okay? So let's see. Why don't we go ahead and, so Newtonicha, are you here? Newtonicha? How about Stephen Schlosser? And Michael Quintana, you here, Michael? Michael Q. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I have like online court right now.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm like checking in for court right now because
Okay. Okay. Okay, maybe we'll come back to you then.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. How about Michael Left and Michael Barbie? We'll do the mics. And are you here, Tommy? Tommy Nguyen.
Yes.
Okay. And Michael Left and Michael Barbie.
I'm here, Professor.
Okay. So I guess the only one we didn't get is Michael Left. Okay. We'll do Joshua then. How about Joshua? You here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So Joshua, Michael Barbie, and who else did we end up getting? Who was it?
It's Tommy.
And Steven. Why don't you guys go and do a reduction and get me to PB equals A minus B, something familiar, right? And then we'll go from there. All right. I'll give you guys just 2 minutes to work through the algebra. Okay.
Hey, Professor.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Sure.
It says after you noted the reaction function for the follower, you put the marginal revenue for the leader equals marginal cost of the leader. How come we didn't use the marginal revenue instead of the?
Well, because we can't
used
yet.
The residual demand. Oh,
because we can't yet. Okay. Right. because right, just remember, right, whenever we get it in this is an intermediate step, but whenever we get it in this form, right, the residual demand, right, our marginal revenue, because everything's linear, is just going to be 2B instead of 1B, right?
Right. Okay. Got it.
So, you know, we're almost there. We're working toward it, but we have this intermediate step. Okay, so Stephen, how's it going? Did you do your simplification?
Yes.
So what did you get? You want to tell us?
I got 153.75 minus 5.625 Q1.
Okay, and what about you, Joshua? What did you get?
I got 102.5 minus 3.75 QB.
Yeah, and what about Michael Barbie?
102.5 minus 3.75 Q1.
Yeah, so I think Stephen, you had a little calculation error, and I don't know if you see where it is or not. Do you? Because I got the same thing that Joshua and Michael Barbie did. So So they got 102.5 minus 3.75 Q1. Okay. So do you need some help, Stephen, or are you good?
No, I see where I messed up.
Okay, fine. So then obviously the next part is pretty straightforward because we can go immediately, as we chatted about, right, to the marginal revenue, which in this case is just going to be 7.5, right, times Q1, right? Does everybody agree? Or Arslan,
Yes.
do you agree, Arslan? And Andres, do you agree?
Yeah, I can see how you did that.
Okay. So now all we have to do is use the MRL equals MCL to get our profit maximizing quantity for our leader. So I'll put use MRL equals MCL to get QL star. And so let's go ahead and you all do that, and also get QF star. Okay, so now you all can do all of the remaining steps, and there shouldn't be any issue. So Andres, you here? And okay, yeah, Andres, go ahead and work on getting the quantities so we can get our industry quantity, and you too, Miles, you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead, Miles. So we'll put Andres and Miles, and let's see. And Chinlin, I saw you in the chat. Oh, maybe Chinlin left us. Okay. Okay. And you're here, Tommy, but I don't know why you're not unmuting. Are you there, Tommy?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and work on these steps 2, which are steps 3 and 4 and 5. Okay. And then we'll come back to you all in just like 5 minutes. It shouldn't take too long.
I have a quick question.
Sure, go ahead. Who's chatting?
Mike Quintana.
Okay. Mike,
Sorry, I've been
how's it going?
trying to pay attention. That equation that you have your little sign on, how did you get that?
Well, it's just from here, see?
Oh, so you just simplified it?
Yeah, I just simplified it.
Okay.
And in fact, maybe it's easier if I just put it with the PB there because that's what we're familiar with. But
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just taking everything that's on this line and just simplifying it,
Oh, okay.
right? So I have it in this form. And again, you don't really have to do that. Remember that marginal revenue comes from just the revenue, which is the price times the quantity. So if I wanted to, I could take this line here and multiply everything by Q1 because it's price times quantity, right? And then I could take the derivative and that would be marginal revenue because, technically speaking, and hopefully you understand from the other lectures what I'm talking about, but revenue is equal to price times quantity. Most of the time, what's going on is that price is some function, right? So in this case, our Q is just we're multiplying it by because it's one firm. It's the quantity of the liter in this case, and PB has QL in it, which we're having here is Q1 because that's our first firm is the liter. So, but once I have it in this form, then remember the definition of marginal revenue is it's the derivative of revenue with respect to the firm. So I could do it this way instead. If I wasn't trying to be careful to show you all how to solve these problems without using calculus, I would just do this. But I want it to be clear, even though I show you guys how to, or you all how to do it with calculus, that for those, and I know actually there probably aren't that many in the class, and so, but there are some fraction of the students in the class, a really small fraction, that may not have had calculus. And if you haven't had calculus, you can still do exactly what I've done with the algebra, kind of knowing in the back of your mind what's going on with the calculus, but meaning that you may not understand the calculus, but it's happening there someplace. It's like a black box. But for those of you that are comfortable with calculus, I would, say, it's a choice. Do you want to simplify it first? You can simplify it this way and then begin your calculus step, or just know because we're dealing with linear demand curves that you're really lucky because it just simplifies so that the calculus bit is summarized by just doubling the coefficient on Q1 once you simplified things. So anyway, okay. Okay, Tommy, how are you doing?
I think I got the answers.
Okay. So Tommy, tell us, what did you get for our QL star, which is, yeah, what our first line there.
QL star got 14.64.
Okay. And what about you, Miles? Or actually, yeah, did I have you down on this list, Miles? Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I got a different answer though. I got 8.2, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay. And Andres, what did you get? Okay, so you didn't get far. Did anybody else do it? Did you do it, Arslan?
Yes, I got 8.2 as well.
You got 8.2. Okay. So so that was the same as Miles. So let's go ahead and go through the algebra a little bit, and okay.
I got 8.2. I did the math wrong. I didn't.
Okay. So let's see. So we know our first part. So I'm gonna write this like this: the first part of the equation. So we have 10, or I mean 102.5, right, minus 7.5 Q1, and then what should we have on the other side, Miles? Right?
I put 5Q.
Yeah, 5.
It's the
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but and Tommy, is that what you got too?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I put divided by 7 for some reason. I just messed up on the calculator.
Right. So then when you solve this, right, so maybe we should go down to the next line. So so you would get QL star then is equal to 102.5 divided by 12.5, right? And I'll plug that into my calculator just to, yeah, and I get 8.2 also. And what about this next step? So how about Tommy? You want to come back and help us out with that one?
I got 7.175.
Okay, 7.175. So and what about you, Miles? Do you agree?
Yeah, that is also what I got.
Okay, 7.715. And just, I didn't do the calculation, so I'll just
I think it was 175.
Yes, 175.
7.175. Okay, that seems right. You all and what about you, Andres? How do you think about this stuff? Were you doing okay? You said you were struggling a little bit. Oh yeah.
Sorry, I had to get my mic real quick. It was somewhere around here. Finally found it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting what it's talking about, but at first I wasn't aware of what to look at, what to
Okay.
do. But yeah.
Yeah, well, this last one is we just substituted into the reaction function, yeah, for firm 2. Okay.
Okay.
So you can verify that calculation and make sure that you're comfortable with it. But anyway, that's what you guys did, right? Miles and Tommy.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then we have our final answer, right? Which is the industry quantity then is just our, and we have it up over there on the left. We just add these two quantities together. And so what did you guys get in the end? You want to tell me, Tommy?
I got 15.375.
Okay, so yeah, 15.375. Okay, so I'm gonna go and, well, we can do it together. Hold on, new share, and hopefully we didn't get timed out. Okay, so this is, you can see the question I selected from Ignithium, and you guys said 15.375, and yay, right? We got the right answer. Now, obviously, we're used at this point, we're off by, 0.05 according to Ignithium, but we're within the bounds because it's just rounding error. So, good job. I'll go back to the whiteboard. So does anybody have any questions about what we did? No. Okay. Okay. So let's see. So I'm going to go back to Ignithium here for a minute, and let's take a look at the other questions, because we all know what's going to be in here. Well, we didn't calculate the market price yet, but we could, and I'll go ahead and let you all do that. And let's see. How about Michael Barbe? You want to tell us what the market price should be?
I got 71.75.
Okay, yeah. And if we put your answer in there, I mean, again, the 71.75. Yay. Okay. So you're good. And then how much of the total output is produced by firm one? Well, we just did that. So what was our number again, right, Tommy? So that's 8.2, right?
Yes.
And now what are the profits of firm two? So they're asking for the profits for the follower, okay? So you all should be able to do that, pretty easily at this point. We have the information, so I'm not gonna show you the answer, but let's see if there's one that's a little bit more complicated before we come back. Again, how much consumer surplus is created and how much deadweight loss, okay? So remember, again, that for the deadweight loss, we have to look at the difference between the total surplus under competition. And so that's implicit in this problem, that we would have to calculate the deadweight loss from competition also. And then this last question here is, yeah, and once we did 13, we'd also do number 14. So and obviously, like, these other ones are intermediate steps for solving 13 and 14 also. So let's go ahead and work on these two problems. And okay, so we want profit for firm two, and we want the consumer surplus. Okay. So we'll go. So I haven't heard from Michael Left yet today. Are you there, Michael?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So let's have you do the profit for firm 2. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll put you on a team with so Michael Quintana, did you get far enough in your other stuff that you can
Yeah.
participate with us now?
Yeah, right. I know. A stupid court is you have to check in online now. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you guys.
Okay. So you want to work on the profit for firm 2 also?
Sure. I'm not good at this, so we'll see what happens.
Well, you know how you get good at anything, right?
Practice.
Yeah, just practice. So this is part of your practice, right? So we'll put you, Mike Q. And what about Shelby Cole? Are you here, Shelby? Okay. Okay, I guess we go back to, what about Antwi? You hear Antwi?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put you in the group working with on the profit for firm 2, okay, Antwi?
Okay.
Okay. And then this is pretty straightforward, I think, is to do the consumer surplus one. So let's see. Michael Bruno. There, Michael? All right. Okay. It looks like he left us. Okay. Okay, Miles. Miles, you there? Okay, maybe not. Okay, Steven.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Sorry, Professor. What was it?
Okay, yeah. So, and Steven, are you here too? So Miles,
Yeah.
work on the consumer surplus with Steven, okay? Consumer surplus for this model. And, okay. And I guess I'll go back to the top of the list too. So I like to put 3 on each one. You can see, at least if we get 2 people that agree, then we're on the right track. So Ben, are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you work on consumer surplus too?
Yeah.
Okay. So it should just take a minute. So I'll give you guys just a couple minutes, and then if you have any questions, let me know. Okay. So, Devara, are you with us?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Devara, did you notice what happened with the outcome based on what we talked about earlier? Did the information advantage overwhelm the cost advantage?
It did.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can tell you right now, if we had done this as straight Corno, then the followers output would have been higher. I mean, I don't know if you remember that from last time, because we had like a similar point that we made last time. But yeah, because a leader has this information advantage, they're able to actually leverage it to the point that not only are they producing more output than they would have produced over Corno, right? But they're producing more output than even the lower cost firm is.
Mhm.
So anyway, it's pretty dramatic, the impact on our equilibrium. So okay, so we had Michael left, was working on the profit for firm 2. How are you doing, Michael? Along with Michael Quintana and Antwi. How are you guys
Yeah,
doing?
so what I got was 949.656.
Okay, so let me put this here. You have 949 point, what do you say, 496?
656.
656. I'll just put 65. That should be close enough. And what about you, Michael Quintana? Do you agree or disagree or?
I got something different.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I got 351.25.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it a little bit. Okay, we'll do a little sidebar over here. And what about you, Antwi? How are you doing with the profit?
I got close to 949.
Okay, so you're in the 949 camp,
Yeah.
right? So with the profit for firm 2, right? Well, we need to know the revenue for firm 2 minus the cost, right? And so the profit for firm 2, to be more explicit, is the revenue for firm 2 minus, and then we need it's the total cost. So we have the variable cost plus the fixed cost, right? And so everything should be pretty straightforward. And so tell me, Michael Quintana, so for the revenue for firm 2, did you use the price of, we said it was somewhere around 71.72. I forget if it was 71.75 was one of the answers we proposed. But so it's 71.72 times the quantity that firm 2 is producing, and our quantity for firm 2 was the follower. They were producing 7.175 units, right? So actually, maybe it's better just because we don't have that much space. I'll break it this way: revenue 2. And so, what did you get as the total revenue, Michael Quintana, when you do that?
It says 514.80.806.
514.06.
806. I'm sorry.
80806. Okay.
I'm sorry.
80. I just put 80. That's fine. Okay. So and Michael left. Do you agree with our revenue calculation or no?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Wait,
But you actually
excuse me,
got
Professor.
profit. Yeah.
Oh, where did that 71.72 come from?
Well, remember that was our price, right? Over here.
Oh yeah, okay, there we go.
It's price times quantity for revenue, right?
For some reason, I thought it
maybe
was
this doesn't matter much.
71.7.
Oh, good.
Oh,
Good.
yeah. Okay. Well, anyway.
I was just gonna say, I think the price should be 71.75.
Okay. Okay. Does it
I'm gonna
affect
try to
the?
calculate it again real quick, but that's what I got for price.
Okay. Yeah. I think that. So okay. Let me see. Let me share. I'm going here. So this is, you guys can see from Ignithium. So Ignithium says it's 71.72, and that's the only reason why I used it.
I was just rounding. Okay.
Yeah. But that doesn't, we put in 71.75, and it doesn't mean that it's at all wrong, right? It just means we got a little bit of rounding error in that last decimal place. So that's why I used it here, because I was just hoping that we would be even more accurate. But we could put 71.75, and I would be fine with that too. Okay. So, but just to be clear here, because I think it was Miles that was asking the question. Here, obviously, for the revenue, we're doing the price times the quantity.
That makes sense. I get the price and quantity. I was just the 71.72 tripped me up.
Right. And so, and then so now we have to do the cost side, right? Which we said is our variable cost plus our fixed costs. And so the fixed costs are given as being $92, right? So that's no problem. Our problem is always the variable cost. But remember the variable cost, and again, for this, there's absolutely no reason, if you want to, that you can't use the integral under the marginal cost curve for firm 2. That would be fine. But if you don't remember the integral formula, right, then you just have to remember that it's a triangle, because we have our marginal cost is just a ray out of the origin. It's a straight line with, you know, the intercept is 0. So in that case, we know that we're going to be using that triangle formula, like 1/2, right, times the base. But the base in this case is going to be the quantity, right, that's produced by firm 2, right, times the height of the marginal cost function at that particular quantity. And since our marginal cost formula, so I could just put, to be maybe a little bit more clear, MC at Q2. Does everybody agree with me? Are you okay, Michael left?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So that would be, you know, 0.5 times, and we already know that our Q2 is 7.175 times, and then our marginal cost function is just 4 times 7.175. That's the value of our marginal cost function. So does everybody agree? Okay. Do you agree, Michael left?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So why don't you tell us what the variable cost is then, based on your calculation?
Okay, so 0.5 times 7.175 times 7. So that would be 25.7403.
25.74.
Oh wait, I didn't see the 4. So that's 102.961.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so that's I agree, because unity 7 by 7 is 49, and 1/2 times 4 is 2. So it's going to be something close to 100. You said it's 102 point what?
0.961.
961. Okay. And so now we have our total cost is going to be our 102.961 plus our fixed cost of 92. And so what do we get then? Well, who's our other person? Michael Quintana.
It says 194.96. 194.96.
194.96. Okay. So on Twee, do you want to do us the honors? So our profit for firm 2 then is going to be equal to our total revenue minus our total cost. And what do we get?
Oh wait, okay, so
Okay.
it will be 194.96. No. Wait, what place is wrong? 5, 10. $319.4. 319.8.
Point what?
319.84.
0.84. Okay. So do you agree, Michael Left and Michael Quintana?
I do.
I got something super close to it.
Okay, because I don't know why we ended up with this number over here, 949. But
Because they probably times it by the quantity, by the national, the equilibrium.
oh, you mean the industry quantity?
Yeah, the industry quantity instead of the individual. But I was a little bit confused on. Okay, so you took the antiderivative of VC of the first of the MC1, right?
Well, this is for firm 2, so MC2, right? It's
Also,
we're doing for the follower, right? For profit of firm 2.
Okay, I just wanted to know how you said it equal to.
I'm not sure which line you're talking about, but
it's over here when you calculated the variable cost, you took the
right there.
Yeah, you took the antiderivative of the first one or the second one.
Well, it has to be. See, it's firm 2, right? So it has to be the one with the 4 in it.
All right.
Right? Because it wouldn't make sense to do this one because that's for a different firm, right? Because we're doing profit for firm 2. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
And I know this is a little bit ambiguous because it says MC, but it's a Q2, right? That I put in there. I could put MC2 of Q2. It's just like, at some point in time, the symbols get kind of mushy. There's like too many MCs, and because I should have put here, obviously we're talking about firm 2. So this is a cost for firm 2. It's the variable cost for firm 2 and the fixed cost for firm 2, right? But if I put 2s in there and then with the numbers, eventually I think it'll get too weird, too many numbers floating around. But okay, so we have consensus. And what about you, Arslan? Did you get the same thing? Joshua, did you guys get the same thing?
Got the same thing, yeah.
Okay, so 319.84. And let's go ahead. And so we had another group working on the consumer surplus, and that was Miles, Ben, and Steven. What did you all get for the consumer surplus?
For consumer surplus, I got 514.
Okay, you cut out Miles. 514 what?
Oh wait, no, sorry. I just looked at the wrong number. I got 709.
709. Any change in there? Like,
No, that's it.
just 709 even.
Oh,
Okay.
0.17. Sorry.
0.17. Yeah, and do you agree with Ben? Do you agree with Miles?
I'm not sure if I used the wrong functions, but I got 252.15 for consumer surplus.
Okay, well, tell me what you did, Ben. And
So I used the marginal revenue of the. So that's the.
oh yeah, so I would say absolutely not. So remember, consumer surplus is always the area below the demand curve. So I'm trying to, let me see if I can put that in red up here. But so we're going from here. You see at the top. So on all of these models, you're going to end up having a demand curve that's like the first thing you start working with. And that's where, just like in competition, once we have a price, we're just looking at the area underneath the demand curve and above the price. And it's a little triangle usually. Did that make sense? Or
Yeah, I know how to calculate it. I just used the wrong function.
well, okay, but that's critical. If you use the wrong function, and then also, I mean, there's lots of issues, but okay. As long as we're on the same page, you want to recalculate it and see if you agree with,
And then
the
supply curve would be the joint marginal cost, correct?
Well, okay. So I think that you're confused about something, and that is, we do need the supply curve, which is the joint marginal cost function, to calculate consumer and producer surplus if this was a competitive market, which is one of our steps in the problem. But when we have a Stackelberg equilibrium, which is a leader follower equilibrium here, we don't need the supply curve for anything. All of the supply decisions are being made based on these firms, marginal revenue interactions with the reaction functions. That's why, the whole point of going through all this, and this may, it's easily lost. And so it's okay if you're a little bit confused, but the whole point of this thing was to get down to this Q, right? You see where I have the Q star highlighted? And that's telling us, oh, under this circumstance, these firms will supply 15.375 units to the market. That's what the supply is going to be. There is no supply curve. And that's what makes Cournot and Stackelberg different, because the supply decisions are kind of happening in the background. There's no, like, you can't just see a supply curve. It's actually true for monopoly too. I mean, if you read in most textbooks will say to you straight up at the very beginning, there is no supply curve under monopoly. And that's true because supply curves under competition tell us at each and every price, right, what are the firms going to supply to the market. But under monopoly, there's no way to do that. What happens is the price is what the monopolist sets, right? So you can't say, oh, at what price, at this price, how much will the monopolist supply? The monopolist is like, I don't react to prices. I set the price in the market, right? So that's the difference. In competition, remember, firms are price takers. They just look at the price and they go, okay, I'm going to do the best I can, make the most profit I can given that price. But the monopolist, and think about it. I mean, if you're the monopolist, and I don't know if you have any good mind, idea of, a monopoly product in your head, but probably, like one of the best examples that they give is, I don't know if you ever heard of them or not, but there's this big a diamond company out of South Africa called De Beers. Have you heard of them?
Not exactly that brand, but I kind of have an idea how, like, in the diamond industry, like how it may work like that.
Yeah, well, it turns out that De Beers supplies almost all of the raw diamonds to the entire world. And so, you could think of it as them having like the only diamond mine. Now it turns out they own several, right? But like the only diamond mine in the whole world, right? So they don't, they set the price of diamonds. If you want to buy a diamond, you pay what they ask or you don't buy, right? So there's no relationship between price and quantity supplied as such. It's not like you give a particular price and how many diamonds De Beers is going to sell you. Instead, De Beers manipulates, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, I'm just saying this is what they do. It's part of their strategy. They manipulate the price of diamonds by controlling the supply, and they drive up the price to what they want it to be. So there's no supply curve. Now there's a marginal cost curve, but how we get the supply decision of the monopolist, it's not a supply curve, it's a decision made strategically on the basis of finding the profit maximizing quantity to supply to the market, which is where marginal revenue comes in, because marginal revenue, where it intersects with marginal cost, tells us what's that magic quantity that's going to generate the most profit. It doesn't generate the highest price. It's just that it generates the most profit. Because even the monopolist has to consider, right? If I'm De Beers and I say, oh, I want to charge $1 million for a 1/4 carat diamond, that's a little really tiny one, right? I'm going to have no customers, right? So the monopolist controls the supply, but they don't control what people are willing to pay for the good. That's just based on consumers' budget and preferences and things like that. So if the monopolist, gets too greedy, right? If they try to charge a price that's way too high, they just won't have any customers. So the marginal revenue helps the monopolist figure out that kind of, call it a sweet spot, right? That magic quantity that's going to give a price that's high enough and still have enough customers such that they make as much profit as they possibly can. And then in all of these other models that we're dealing with like Cournot and Stackelberg, it's very similar to monopoly in the sense that these firms have market power, which means that they have the ability to set the price. They have the ability, depending upon how much they cooperate and compete with one another, to control the supply to the market, to find a sweet spot. And I'm just, talking very casually and metaphorically, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying, that the sweet spot is that profit maximizing quantity.
No, yeah, that makes a lot more sense, kind of like looking at it without the supply curve. And I went ahead and like did my calculations again, and I got a 709.17 for my surplus.
Yeah, and that's why, like, if you go back and you look at I think the last lecture that I did on Cournot was I always think my lectures are really good, but hey, but I think that I do a good job of making the point that that, you know, when you're going to calculate consumer surplus in, particularly in Cournot and Stackelberg, I know you want to look at most people want to look at the demand curve with a supply curve because you've been seeing that so much probably in your other classes, and you've been seeing it in principles of micro and macroeconomics, demand and supply, demand and supply, demand. So you get kind of habituated to thinking, oh, every time I have a demand curve, I should have a supply curve. But the truth is that consumer surplus stands on its own. It's just a demand curve and a price, and that area between demand and price, that's consumer surplus. You know, anything else you put on there, if you're trying to calculate consumer surplus, is just, you know, what they used to call window dressing. You know, it's just, you know, it's extraneous. It's not needed. You know, maybe it makes you feel better because it looks like the diagram's more complete, but analyzing demand and consumer surplus on its own is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And economists do it all the time. And you just, so now you guys are starting to get to the point in your education here, you know, towards the middle end of your bachelor's degree, where now you have all of these tools and you're learning, you know, when to use which tool, right? So it's, before they were kind of like all packaged together. And now when you're doing a more sophisticated kind of analysis, you're starting to say, oh, well, you know, I'm here to, you know, fix a pipe underneath the sink. I don't need to bring my saw with me. I'm not going to be sawing anything. I need a couple of wrenches. You see what I mean? It's you don't have to bring the whole toolbox. Just, you know, bring the tool you need. That make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you got the right answer. That's good. I hope it's the right answer. Let's go ahead and check. So we go back to Ignithium, and okay. So we already know that. That's fine. How much consumer surplus? Da, da, da. Okay. Yeah. That's close enough, right? Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay. And what are the profits for firm 2? That's close enough. Does everybody agree? For our profit folks, Michael left. You agree on Twee?
Yep, all good.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So now the really, the total surplus and the deadweight loss ones are connected. The real difference is, remember, for the deadweight loss, what we have to do is we have to take, you know, deadweight loss, I'll remind everybody, is going to be equal to total surplus under the Stackelberg equilibrium minus the total surplus under competition. So we have to compute the competitive equilibrium, and then remember, deadweight loss, we take absolute value. So that's what we're doing, because we'd end up with a negative sign because we know total surplus is going to be higher under competition. That's what the first fundamental welfare theorem tells us. And then how much total surplus is created in the leader follower model. So we have to know both of those things. So let's go ahead and go back. So new share. Okay, whiteboard. So we know that we've got to calculate those two total surpluses in order to calculate the deadweight loss. So this is our total surplus under Stackelberg. And this will be our total surplus under competition. Okay. And then we can calculate our deadweight loss. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll give us a little more space. And okay. So let's see. So I'll have, let's see, we'll have Arslan and Devara and Joshua. You want to be in charge of the total surplus under competition.
I could try it. Sure.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Come on, where's the confidence?
We're still developing it.
Okay, yeah, just you know, listen. I'm not a proponent of the fake it till you make it, but I can tell you that in professional life, it's always best to just tell people you're going to do it, and then if something goes goofy along the way, beg forgiveness, you know what I mean, like work through it. So yeah. You got this, Joshua.
Thank you.
Which
one do you want?
Never. The total surplus under competition.
All right.
And okay, and you okay, Devara and Arslan, you on board? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then we'll have Michael Barbe. You hear? We'll have the three mics: Michael Barbe, Michael Left, and Michael Quintana. You want to finish up the total surplus under Stackelberg?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we actually have four mics, but Michael Bruno comes in and out, so we'll have the first three mics. Okay. So I will give you all about 5 minutes. If you have any questions, obviously you're free to ask them. If you're not sure how to get started or something like that. Anybody?
I actually do have a question, Professor. I'm not doing the total surplus for the competitive market, but I was wondering how you get it started. Do you get the MC for the joint?
Yes.
And the industry quantity and get the new price?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that's why like all of these things dovetail together is the everything that you've learned before in the section that we just did competition and monopoly and whatever, it carries over here. So yeah, you should probably expect whenever you get any type of question like a cartel monopoly question or a Corno question or a leader follow question, that the information in the prompt is for constructing the competitive equilibrium is always going to be there. And it's going to be something that you're going to be asked to compute at some point, either implicitly by like we're doing here, computing deadweight loss, or explicitly. I don't know on our last exam if there's more than one kind of prompt for the whole exam. I think at the beginning of the exam, I ask about, I have like one prompt here. And again, like you're right, then you have to know, oh, okay, the joint marginal cost function is a supply function. I've got these two marginal cost functions. I've got to invert them, add them, invert them again to get the joint marginal cost. And then I'm going to label that supply, and then I can find the competitive equilibrium, and I can go from there. But I think the first couple questions on the exam ask explicitly to calculate, details of the competitive equilibrium for that prompt. And then it goes through and it says, oh, well, what if this was a cartel? Then what would the equilibrium look like? Oh, if it was Cournot, then what would the equilibrium look like? Oh, if it was Stackelberg, then what would the equilibrium look like? And it's all exactly the same information, just different industry structures. That's what we're talking about here, is industry structures. And so is, Cournot industry or a Stackelberg industry or a cartel industry. And then along the way, you'll be calculating the deadweight losses associated with the different industry structures that are not competitive. And you'll always be going back to that competitive equilibrium. So anyway, I hope that helps, but that's exactly what you do. Okay, so how are the mics doing?
I think I'm done.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Okay. So okay, well let's take the pieces. So did you all calculate the profit for firm one or no? Because
Yes.
okay. So what did you get for the profit for firm one?
351.25.
Okay. 351.1.25. And that was Michael Barbe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Michael Left and Michael Quintana, do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And see, it is pretty nice, right? Because we can see that the leader ends up getting more profit than the follower. And like I said, and that's despite, I know you all may not get as excited about this as I do, but you should, because you're econ people. But that's despite having a higher cost of production. So wow. But anyway, so now that you have the profits, right, you can just add back in the fixed costs and get the producer surplus for each of them. And I won't ask you all to do that. I won't like all the gory details, but can you tell me what you got for producer surplus then? Because you would add those producer surpluses for each of the firms together to get the total producer surplus in the market. What did you get for that?
I got 633.78.
Okay.
That's adding back fixed cost.
Yeah. So, but that kind of confuses me, right? Because the profit for firm 2 is 319, and if I add back his fixed costs, that's $92. So his producer surplus is really close to like 410, right? And for firm 1, if I add back the $69, then his producer surplus is also like close to like 420. So if I add them together, I should be getting something like greater than $800, right? Do you agree, Michael Quintana?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So what did you all come up with for producer surplus?
I got 832.1.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. 832 and a dime. Do you agree, Michael Left, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then the total surplus for Stackelberg, what did you guys come up with?
I got 1541.27.
Okay, 1541.27. And yeah, so you're just adding, right, consumer and producer surplus, right? So let's go ahead and check. We'll go back to Ignition. And so that's the deadweight loss. It's this last one, right? I'm clapping for the mics. Good job, you guys. And does anybody have any questions? We'll go back here. No questions? Okay. And then okay, so Joshua, how did you do on the total surplus for competition.
Oh, it was pretty smooth sailing until I was calculating the producer surplus part.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
That
then I wasn't
surprises me.
sure because I was doing a right trapezoid. I went ahead and graphed it. So I'm just
Yeah,
not sure if I calculated the right part.
it shouldn't be a big deal at all, because the you know, if we just look at the diagram for for competition, right? All of the like the joint marginal cost, it's going to be a ray out of the origin too, because there's no intercept, right? So we're just going to have a supply curve like that, and we're going to have a demand curve like this, right?
Oh, I see what I did wrong now. Yes, I like started doing the competition one, but I was still in like Stackelberg mode, so I immediately just didn't even realize I switched over trying to do Stackelberg.
Yeah, well, you're doing the total surplus under competition, right? That's what I just drew right here as a competitive market.
Yeah.
Right. So, and in fact, I don't think there should be much error introduced by this, but because total surplus is going to be the consumer and producer surplus, which hopefully you can see here, because we had a competitive market, we have a competitive price at the intersection. But the total surplus is just going to be, you know, all of this area in here, this big triangle. So that's consumer and producer put together, right?
Yeah.
So you can just compute the area of this big triangle and be done with it. Did that make sense, Joshua?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. What about you, Arslan and Devara? How did you get along?
That's what I did. The same thing you're showing. I got
Okay.
945.46.
You got 945.46.
That's right. Yeah.
That kind of scares me. You know why, right?
Why does it scare you?
Because the first fundamental welfare theorem tells me the total surplus in our competition should be the biggest, because it's the most efficient form.
Right. I remember that.
Right.
Let me.
I mean, that's what the first fundamental welfare theorem is all about. Again, if you're thinking of getting a tattoo this semester, the first fundamental welfare theorem is something to consider. I've seen a lot of people with tattoos that have like kind of like, you know, writing on them, long phrases, pieces of the Constitution and stuff. But the first fundamental welfare theorem, you know, it should be, it's a legit candidate for a wordy passage someplace tattooed on your body. You know, I'm just saying. I haven't done that, but you know, it's worth considering. So, what about you, Devara? How did you do?
I found the joint MC and I didn't know what to do next.
Well, that's just the supply equation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so let's do a little detour here, and let's go ahead and compute the competitive equilibrium. And so we have, you guys can remind me because it's on the other page. Well, maybe you guys can't see it either, but let's see it. So it's 164 minus 6Q, right? 164 minus 6Q, right? And I could put the B there, but we don't really need to. And for supply, what did you get, Devara, for the I'll put joint MC. What did you get for the equation?
I got 2.22Q.
Okay, so, and in our case, that would be our PV is equal to, you said 2.22 Q, right? So, yeah, slash supply. Okay. Now, so you got, for the competitive equilibrium quantity, then it should just be, so QC star should be 164 divided by 8.22, right? Everybody agree? Joshua, Arslan, everybody, Devara?
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
you
Yep.
see how I got that, Devara, right? I'm just doing, you said you didn't know what to do next. If, you know, you look at these equations, right? They're just the diagram I drew before. You know, the downward sloping one is demand, and the upward sloping one, it comes out of the origin and supply, right, Devara?
Mm-hmm.
And then, right, we have our competitive equilibrium quantity, which is down there, right? Does that make it? I'm just doing a really simple sketch, but you see what I'm saying, Devara?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So we have clear. So yeah. So I have as the quantity, which I think, what did you say it was, Arslan?
The quantity is going to be 19.95.
Yeah, that's why I have 19.95. So and you all agree with that. Nobody's confused or whatever, right? So then, and that's what you had before when you computed this, right, Arslan?
Yeah, where I went wrong is for whatever reason, I got crossed up and I put the joint marginal cost equal to the marginal revenue.
Ah,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
exactly
why
what
it
I
ended up
did
being
too.
smaller.
no. Don't do that. It's you know, demand and marginal revenue. Yeah, I get it, but yeah, no, don't do it. Okay, so now we back on track, because here it's just gonna be 164, right, times for the area of the triangle, 19.95 times, that's the base and the height times 1/2, right, Arslan? Joshua,
That's
Devara?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay, so what did we get?
1,635.9.
Yeah, 1,635.90. Okay, and that should be right, because 19.995 is almost 20. Half of 20 is 10. So we know we're getting something close to 1640. And so if we go back here now, okay, right? Because the first fundamental welfare theorem is not wrong. You know, I mean, it is what it is, but also I don't know if you all remember all of the lectures, but I go through great pains through the course. Not that it's a pain for me, but it just takes time to demonstrate the first fundamental welfare theorem using all of these tools, right? So if we were to get a violation of the first fundamental welfare theorem, we would all, you know, again, maybe write Riksbank in Sweden. You know, those are the ones that issue the Nobel Prize in Economics, right? And we would apply jointly for a Nobel Prize in Economics. Anyway, I don't know if that excites you guys as much as me, but so what's our deadweight loss then? Who wants to tell me? Joshua or Arslan? Anybody? Devara?
Yeah, I got 94.63.
94.63. 63. Does everybody agree?
I agree, yeah.
Okay. So the last thing we have to do is go ahead and check and see, and yeah, we're right in there, right? Good job, team. Good job. Okay, so we're done. And so just as a heads up, this is due next Monday. I should give you guys feedback on your second exam before you take your third. I know for most of you, you don't have substitute questions and stuff like that. But over the course of like next weekend and stuff like that, I should be able to get you feedback on the diagrams and stuff like that, just so you know where you're setting with the second exam before you take the third. Obviously, the third one is a little bit challenging to give you guys meaningful feedback from. But what I always tell students is, remember, I'm looking for 70% or better on the Ignithium portion, right? So you really don't have to wait on, because I'll do that while I'm in the grading period. If what score you're going to get on your diagram portion. I mean, obviously you need to know that for your final grade, but you're just waiting for your final grade like anybody else would. But if you're trying to figure out like, well, should I retake this exam or shouldn't I? Then if you get less than 70% on the Ignithium auto scored stuff, then for sure you should retake it. The other thing I'll say really quickly is that this coming Thursday, I'll meet with you all in the morning and ask if you have any questions on this assignment. But for the main part of the lecture, I'm going to send out a couple of videos. And so it'll be more like a quick session on Thursday, and then video lecture for the rest of Thursday if there aren't that many questions. And the video lecture that I'm going to send out is really on our next topic, which is externalities. So on externalities, there won't be any Ignithium homework, and but it may show up on the exam in the diagramming portion. So next week, when we're getting ready for our exam on Thursday, probably on Tuesday, besides just doing like, question answer, if there's any like review stuff about this assignment, I'll talk to you all more directly about externalities and what you're expected to know about externalities from the videos that I sent out. And then obviously, so then Thursday, we would be planning for the exam. Do you all have any questions? If you do, I'm gonna go ahead and